Hello everybody, Steve Matthews here, Teeth of the Lamb. You can find me on YouTube under Teeth of the Lamb, all one word. Today is March 7th of 2019. As some of you may know, or some of you may not know, that Richard, Mr. Thrive and Survive, and myself have been doing independent observations of the face of the moon as it rotates. And we are of the opinion that the rotation that we see is not field rotation or any optical illusion, that we believe that rotation is real, and I'm going to show you why today. Before I go any farther, I want to say, if you haven't already, run over to Richard's channel and subscribe, because you don't want to miss the stuff he's putting out. He's got been very instrumental in finding a lot of these anomalies with the moon, and I'm going to tell you what the background is on what we think is going on so far. But go over and subscribe to his channel, please. But don't leave my video. Wait until you're done. There'll be a link in the description. The developments so far to date, what we've noted is that the face of the moon rotates clockwise. The shadow moves as if attached to the moon, not independent, as it should if it were a cast shadow from the sun. The moon's face doesn't rotate at times, as noted in the January 20th lunar eclipse. The face of the moon jumps backwards, as also noted in the January 20th lunar eclipse, then by Richard, Mr. Thrive and Survive, on February 16th, which was just before the following full moon. The element of most interest and most significant to us at this moment is the backwards motion that Richard has detected by using two equatorial mounts and two different cameras. And on the 16th of February, he was able to film it having a jump backwards. And what I want to go over today is I have photos that I took on the 16th and on the 18th. And I believe that they actually show that jump backwards. And I'm going to go over that and explain why today. What we have here is the times the photos were taken. The first row is the February 16th. And the second row are the photos that I was able to take every hour on the 18th. And the third row is an overlay of the 16th and the 18th. Now I've gone back, dropped them back, and overlaid them an hour back, because Richard is in Phoenix and I'm on the coast of Oregon. Because the moon loses about 55 minutes each day, I've gone back 1 hour at first, and then I drop it back 2 hours, because there's a couple days between. But each of them show that there's clearly a backwards motion to, it's counterclockwise, and it should be going clockwise. So here we go. I'm going to move the overlay back and forth over the top real quick here, so you can see how much clockwise rotation we've had on each of these by the hour. And starting with the February 16th photographs. Now I'll bring the one in front of it over this one, and you can see there's very little movement here. Very, very little, if any. This takes a minute to go through, but it's well worth it. That one just jumped back where it was. So I'm going to bring it forward now and put it over this one. And again, we just have a little dab of forward motion, maybe a eighth. Clockwise motion there. Now I'll bring this one back and go over it again. We've got about maybe a quarter of the Sea of Crises on the very top there. That's the crater I'm watching, because it's real good for detecting the motion of the moon. Now this one, you can see it's moved forward quite a bit. And this is where I think Richard detected that backward motion, even though it's not 1 hour difference. I still think that's where it happened. And the reason I think that's where the backward jump was is because at first I thought the moon was speeding up because it traveled a lot more distance in 1 hour than it had in the past. So, but now I'm of the mind that jump is causing it to go backwards, and then the rest of the hour it goes forward. So it's given me a larger gap between how far it moved, and that's how I'm seeing it. I think the moon is moving steadily forward in a clockwise rotation, but I think these jumps backwards may be happening more often than we think, because I've seen a lot of these larger gaps, and I was thinking, wow, it's just like moving different speeds, and that's not possible. But true to form, to any good observation, I'm holding the right to change my mind at what I think. Now we're going to skip down to the night of the 18th, which is the second row. And these, like I say, are pretty much hour by hour, not exactly, but they're close enough. We're just watching how far it's moved. It didn't move hardly at all there. And sometimes it seems to move a lot, and other times it doesn't move a whole lot. You can see these, there's a little bit of movement because it's blurry, and that's the indication we've got a little bit of motion clockwise. Normally, all I ever see is clockwise. And here we've got clockwise rotation. But then I see big gaps. I mean, the space between the two craters on the top there is much larger, and I think that's where we're getting backward and forward at the same time, which is making the gap wider. See, it's wider here. But this isn't that unusual here. When I overlay the two, then you're going to see what happens. All those were forward motions. Those were all clockwise, both days. Now I dropped it an hour back, overlaid the hour on the 16th backwards on the 18th, because we've 55 minutes per day the moon rises later. So I would say no movement there. It doesn't look like there's anything. But now we've got a counterclockwise. See, and the only way that's possible is that jump that Richard had, and probably another one the next day. And you see this is going to get progressively wider. And we're going, the 18th is counterclockwise from the 16th, which is on top. Isn't that interesting? Things they don't teach you in school. Now look at the gap. Here's where I thought the jump was. It might have had another one. But see, when I'm doing every hour, I'm not going to get those jumps. All I'm going to see is a wider gap. And the only way that's possible is either sped up or it's gone backward and forward. And that would explain it. If it had a jump backwards, that gap would be a lot wider. I think it's pretty consistently going forward in a clockwise rotation. Now I'm just overlaying the 2 days again, so you can see on the 18th, right there where I'm at, it was very little motion. It was still moving clockwise though, and I did the 16th, and it had quite a gap there on the 16th. So I hope you found that interesting. I certainly do. Now we're going to take the bottom row, and I'm going to move it 2 hours back and see what we get. I can't do as many because I'll run out of them. Now I only had several hours. So I'll move those down, move the one in front of it over, which was already 1 hour back. And now we've got 2 hours back. Very little bit of motion there. It's blurry. Counterclockwise again. Excuse me. I'm trying to keep these in order because if I get them all mixed up, it's hard to sort out. Now here we go. I'll bring the hour. That's already an hour back. I'll bring it back again, and it's still counterclockwise. Now these are the 16th I'm putting over the top, and I'm bringing them 2 hours back and putting them over the 18th. That's a lot of backward motion. We've still got quite a gap there between the Sea of Crises on the top, those two round craters. Now this will be the last one I can do because I didn't film that many or take that many. And look at that gap. And that's counterclockwise. Very fascinating. And we're going to be getting more pictures. I encourage everybody to get your cameras out, go out and try to get some pictures, and submit them to Richard or myself, and let's see what we can find out what's going on. If you like this video, then please like and subscribe. Don't forget, in the description below there will be a link to Richard, Mr. Thrive and Survive, and he's also putting information out about this, so you'd want to jump over to his site and subscribe if you haven't already. And I think Dave Marsh is also contributing and working with Richard, so I'm going to put a link for Dave Marsh as well, who's been doing some fantastic work. And if you didn't like what you heard, you've got some beautiful ocean scenery that I filmed out here off the coast of Oregon to watch. Thank you for watching, and you all have a darn nice day.